smoker going. I like to use apple wood shavings. They're nice and dry, and some white pine needles. They burn nice and easy. And then maybe a little fabric or something. Burlap works great, or not burlap, but like cotton. Burns nice, gives a nice smoke, not too hot. That's what you're going for. One thing I always encourage other people to do is grow lots of flowers, especially ones that bloom all throughout the year, because the more and more diverse flowers that you have, the better off all the pollinators are, because pollinators don't just need to eat once, they need to eat throughout the seasons. So here at Curtis Orchard, we plant lots of other small fruits, and especially our zinnia field this year. Of course, we have pumpkins and apples, to try to provide a wide variety of nectar sources for not just honeybees, but butterflies, birds, bats. There's lots of different insects also that pollinate. So I'm just going to close this up and then take the boxes into our honey room to start harvesting the honey. Hi, I'm Rachel Coventry, and we're out here at Curtis Orchard Apiary, and we are checking on our supers. Super is the term that we use for this box for collecting honey, so specifically a honey super. So what I'm going to do is come out here. I've already given them a little smoke to kind of get them to move off of the frame, and I'm going to pull one of these frames up to see if it's ready for harvesting. This is my hive tool here. I just gently pull it up because I'm trying not to squish any bees if I can help it. And move gently, and look at that. You see that? That is all honey. And it's been capped, so now we know it's ready for harvest. So how do we get the bees off of this frame? Well, there's a number of methods. One of the methods I like to use is with a fume board, and I will show you that in a moment. This here is a fume board. It's just metal, and it's got this cottony side on this side, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this non-toxic solution of essential oils that the bees don't like the smell of. Much like if you were to use orange oil to repel cats from plants maybe that you didn't want them to mess with. So all I do is I just spray it on here a little bit, and then the heat of the sun will evaporate the scent, and the bees, because it's capped honey and they don't like it, they will go down into the next box. So I might leave that on there for 4 to 5 minutes, depending on the day. Today's not terribly hot, but I'm hoping there's enough sun that will help drive the bees out. Otherwise, I need to brush individually the frames because I don't want to take the bees in when I'm harvesting the honey. For obvious reasons, they would start eating the honey and it would be difficult to get them back into their hive. We're gonna check on Alma right now. This is in between we're harvesting honey from the others because we have to wait for those fume boards to do their job and to drive the bees out. So why not take a few minutes to check on the beehives that we're not going to harvest honey from. We like the population. Already they've moved up into this top box, and if you have been following along, about 10 days ago we took a queen that was just had a little population and we combined them with Alma because Alma had lots of bees, but for some reason our queens were struggling, and perhaps she just wasn't mated well, or perhaps she got injured. We're not really sure. So it was nice to have another hive that needed a population, and that's why we combined them. So, but we want to check on her and make sure she's still in there and she's laying fine. So this frame that we just pulled out, we have lots of brood. It's all sealed, which means it's over 8 days old. It's not hatching yet. It'll hatch in about 21 days. I'm looking for eggs. So far I don't see eggs or uncapped larvae. I see a little bit of uncapped right in here. And I'm gonna just take a picture of that because those for some reason aren't capped, and that worries me especially since I've heard from other beekeepers that they've had some chalk brood problems. So it's always good to note what you find. Oh, good, there's some more. Can you see? Mm-hmm. All right, pop quiz for you. Is this honey or brood? Can you see the difference? If you were paying attention, you'd know that this is capped honey and this is capped brood. We do see some eggs and larvae, so we know we've had a queen at least within the last week. But we'd still really like to see some eggs. It's not a great pattern, but again, she was just getting started. So we're hoping she can really bolster her populations. Lots of them. Some of these other frames, they're just filling with nectar, which once they fan and get it down to 18%, they will cap it and use it for their food. Okay, we're just gonna close the hive back up. We definitely want to keep an eye on this hive. It's not doing awesome, but it's definitely just now gotten another queen, so we just want to keep tabs on her and make sure she's still laying and that the health of the hive is. And I'm going to look up the interesting brood that I saw in one of my books. But otherwise, thanks for watching and following along with Alma, the rescue hive. Now we're going to crack it open and see if all the bees have left just by looking down there. Looks to me like most of them are down into the next box at least. So this weighs probably 50 to 75 pounds, especially because this one is very full. So it's really helpful to have a second person to lift it. We just apply a little bit more and we're going to put it on the next frame down too. There's a little bit of uncapped honey and that will deter the bees from leaving. So see how they eat it? They love the uncapped honey. So we want to clean off as much of that as we can. Now while we're waiting for that to heat up and drive the bees down, we'll glance at this other hive. Honey on top. Try and pull open one or two frames and see if they've laid any, the queen's laid any brood up here. But just at first glance, I see lots and lots of capped honey, which is great because they need lots of honey to make it through the winter. But it also means more lifting. Now that we're here to harvest our frame of honey, we have what we call an uncapping tank. And we have a couple different options to uncap. Because basically, in order to remove the honey, we need to take off this top layer of wax, which we call cappings. So there's a number of methods. This is just kind of a roller, which is really spiky. And if we roll it aggressively, we can just break open those cappings. This is fairly effective, especially without heat. There's another method that involves using a heated knife to gently cut the top layer off. And that works well too, but I find this damages the frame less. Because the idea being we want to remove just enough wax to extract the honey without damaging the comb in order to allow the bees to reuse the comb. So you can see that there. Just kind of scraping them off. And what we'll do once we're done, we'll let the bees clean up as much of the honey as they can from the wax before rendering the wax down into a solid block. We do the same with the other side. There's also fancy uncapping planes that if you had tons and tons of frames, it would really speed it up. And basically, it's just a heated plane that you would run the whole frame along to remove that wax capping. Once we have removed all the wax cappings, we will put it in our big tank here, which we call a centrifuge, because it uses centrifugal force to fling all the honey out of the frame. And you can see this particular unit holds 20 frames, which is 2 full super boxes. And we have one more frame to do, and then we'll spin it. Now we're going to turn it on and gradually increase our speed. You can hear the motor running. You can see the frames are starting to turn. And it should be fairly balanced. Oops, if it's not, you want to pause it and make sure none of them are out of sequence. It looks like we have one that's messed up. Now you can start to see the honey flinging up against the sides. And you see it down there? Honey's being whipped out on the side. We just let it go for quite a while until we don't see any honey being flung out. We want to kind of hold it. Now we're going to check our frames. There's still a little bit of honey left, but that's okay because we will take it back up to the bees and let them clean it up. And they're more than happy to do that. So nothing goes to waste. But it's more important that we check that both sides got uncapped, because you would be surprised at how many times that accidentally happens. So we'll check Raina's work. Now we're going to strain the honey. You can see there's a lot of wax that comes out with it. So we just use a simple filter. And after that, it gets bottled. And some of this stuff is just propolis and wax that gets put on it, because I also take these out to the apiary so the bees can clean up all the honey that's left on them after I scrape them. And now we have the finished product, and this is actually going to be my entry for the International Honey Contest. We'll see if we can win again.